For decades, Pastor Creflo Dollar appeared untouchable. He stood at the center of a global ministry built on confidence, clarity, and the promise that faith could unlock prosperity. To millions of followers, he was proof that belief worked, that obedience to God could bring abundance, influence, and success. But behind the polished sermons and massive sanctuaries, something was quietly unraveling. In recent years, painful truths have surfaced that forced Dollar to confront a reality he never prepared his congregation for: the possibility that the very teachings which built his empire may have been flawed from the beginning. As scandals, personal turmoil, and shocking confessions emerged, the image of unshakable certainty began to crack. This is the story of how a ministry that promised control, wealth, and divine order collided with accountability, consequences, and doubt. Humble beginnings in College Park. Creflo Augustus Dollar Jr. was born on January 28, 1962, in College Park, Georgia, far from the megachurch spotlight he would later command. His upbringing was shaped by discipline and routine. His father worked as a police officer, and his mother served meals in the cafeteria at Kathleen Mitchell Elementary School. That modest environment would later take on symbolic meaning in his life. As a child, Dollar had no intention of becoming a pastor. His dream was to play professional football, a goal he pursued passionately into his college years at West Georgia College. But a serious injury abruptly ended that dream, forcing him to reevaluate his future. During his recovery, he began attending Bible study meetings, not out of deep spiritual longing, but to fill the silence left by disappointment. What began as a distraction soon became a defining turning point. A calling born from disruption. Dollar later described experiencing a born-again moment during that period, a spiritual awakening that redirected his ambitions. He began leading small Bible study groups of his own, discovering that people were drawn to his confidence and clarity. Among those early attendees was Taffy Bolton, who would later become his wife and partner in ministry. In 1984, Dollar earned a degree in educational therapy and took a job at Bronner Psychiatric Institute, working with individuals who had learning challenges. Although he excelled in the role, he felt increasingly pulled toward ministry. By 1986, he made a life-altering decision. He founded World Changers Ministries Christian Center, not in a cathedral or sanctuary, but in the cafeteria of Kathleen Mitchell Elementary School, the same place where his mother once worked and where he had been part of the school's early racial integration. Only 8 people attended the first service. Few could have imagined what would follow. From cafeteria to megachurch, what Dollar preached resonated. His message was practical, confident, and solution-focused. Attendance grew quickly. As the congregation expanded, so did his vision. World Changers Ministries evolved into World Changers Church International, reflecting his belief that his influence extended far beyond Georgia. By the early 1990s, his radio and television broadcasts, especially Changing Your World, were reaching millions. His sermons promised not only spiritual growth, but tangible results: financial increase, success, and personal victory. In 1995, the ministry unveiled the World Dome, an 8,500-seat sanctuary built at a cost of nearly $20 million. Dollar proudly claimed it was constructed without bank financing, calling it proof that faith and giving worked. By the mid-2000s, the church reported over 30,000 members and tens of millions in annual revenue. The empire was no longer local, it was global. The prosperity message that defined everything. At the core of Dollar's rise was one central doctrine: the prosperity gospel. He taught that faith, positive confession, and generous giving, especially tithing, were spiritual keys to wealth and success. For struggling families, the message offered hope. For believers desperate for change, it felt empowering. As Dollar's influence spread to Africa, Canada, Europe, and beyond, his teachings shaped how millions viewed money and faith. But as the message expanded, so did controversy. Critics argued that prosperity theology blurred the line between spiritual guidance and financial manipulation. Supporters, however, pointed to Dollar himself as living proof that the system worked. His confidence, success, and lifestyle became part of the sermon. Yet beneath the growth was a tension that refused to disappear. The more prosperity he preached, the more people questioned the wealth he accumulated from that message. Luxury, wealth, and growing scrutiny. As Dollar's ministry flourished, attention increasingly turned to his personal lifestyle. While many of his congregants lived modestly, Dollar owned a $3.4 million estate in Fayetteville, Georgia, sitting on more than 180 acres behind gated walls. He also owned a luxury condominium in New York City's Time Warner Center, purchased for $2.5 million and later sold for a substantial profit, as well as another home in New Jersey valued at over $2 million. His garage reportedly housed multiple Rolls-Royces, including one worth nearly $500,000. To Dollar, these assets represented God's blessing. To critics, they symbolized excess and detachment. Church watchdog organizations raised red flags, criticizing the ministry's lack of financial transparency. Ministry Watch repeatedly issued failing ratings, citing Dollar's refusal to release audited financial statements. The scrutiny intensified, and public trust began to erode. Investigations and resistance to transparency. Between 2007 and 2011, the U.S. Senate Finance Committee investigated Dollar and several other televangelists, examining whether ministry funds were being used for personal benefit. Dollar refused to provide financial records, arguing that the government had no authority to examine church finances. Legally, the investigation ended without charges. Publicly, however, the damage lingered. For many observers, the refusal reinforced concerns about accountability. Wealth without transparency became a recurring theme in critiques of his ministry. Still, Dollar continued preaching with certainty, insisting that opposition was simply persecution. But the foundation was weakening, and the next controversy would push public skepticism to new heights. The $65 million jet that sparked outrage. In 2015, Dollar launched Project G650, asking supporters to help him purchase a $65 million Gulfstream G650 private jet. He argued that his older aircraft was unsafe and that commercial airlines could not accommodate God's schedule. The campaign requested 200,000 people to donate $300 each. The backlash was immediate. Aviation experts challenged claims that the jet could transport massive humanitarian supplies, noting its limited cargo capacity. Social media erupted. News outlets amplified the story, and even fellow Christian leaders spoke out. Gospel artist Kirk Franklin criticized the idea that extreme wealth signified faith. The fundraising page was quietly removed, but Dollar doubled down, declaring from the pulpit that no one could stop him from believing God for the plane. Though the jet was later acquired through other means, the controversy permanently altered public perception. Arrest and a shattered image. In June 2012, another blow struck, this time deeply personal. Dollar was arrested following an altercation with his teenage daughter. According to police reports, she accused him of physical violence during an argument. Dollar claimed he was restraining her after being struck. Though the charges were later dropped after he completed anger management counseling, the incident shocked supporters and critics alike. The image of a pastor preaching order and discipline while facing such allegations created cognitive dissonance. Some defended him fiercely. Others questioned whether religious loyalty had clouded judgment. While the legal case ended quietly, the reputational impact did not. For the first time, many followers privately questioned the gap between the public sermons and private realities, the confession that changed everything. In June 2022, Creflo Dollar delivered a sermon that stunned the Christian world. After decades of preaching mandatory tithing, he declared that he had been wrong. In a message titled The Great Misunderstanding, Dollar said tithing belonged to Old Testament law and should never have been taught as a requirement for Christians under grace. He urged followers to discard his previous teachings on the subject. For some, it was an act of humility. For others, it felt like a devastating admission that came far too late. Dollar did not apologize, nor did he offer restitution. The wealth built under the old teachings remained untouched. Critics argued the reversal validated years of warnings about prosperity theology. Supporters were left confused, questioning what else they had been taught might now change. Conclusion: accountability after the empire. Creflo Dollar's ministry still stands, but its meaning has shifted. What was once presented as unshakable truth is now openly questioned, even by the man who preached it. His story raises difficult questions about power, accountability, and the responsibility spiritual leaders carry when their teachings shape lives and finances. Was his confession courageous or convenient? Should responsibility accompany reversal? For many, the prosperity he promised others could not protect him from the consequences of his own theology. The empire was built on certainty. Its greatest challenge has been humility. What do you think? Should Pastor Creflo Dollar take responsibility for the teachings he now rejects? Share your thoughts below, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories like this.